Have you ever tried to be a go-getter, someone who is really proactive and ambitious and always trying to achieve more things? Well, it turns out you're doing it all wrong. This book, The Go-Giver, contradicts the popular notion that to be successful, you have to be a go-getter, someone who's always focused on getting more clients and more deals and making more sales. Instead, the moral of the story of this book is that we should always be focused on giving, and success in business and in life and in our careers will follow. Being a go-giver is about giving value to others, and it's not a strategy or a way of getting an eye for an eye out of someone, but it's a way of leading an actually satisfying life. So the book is about a man named Joe who is a typical go-getter, who's a really great guy, but he's really focused on achieving more things. And he works for this company called Class & Hill Trust, and he's had a bad quarter. So he's had not a great start to the year. As a last-ditch effort to save the quarter, he gets in contact with this person he's been given the number of, who's this wealthy consultant called Pindar, who he has heard about, but he hasn't met. Pindar takes Joe on a journey across the course of a week, and he meets 5 different people, and Joe learns the 5 laws of stratospheric success, both in business and in life. So the secret to these 5 laws is giving. And we will go into each of these 5 laws in a second. But the reason that the secret is giving is because you cannot expect in life to get anything before you have given something. Most people operate in that way. They think, I'm going to try and get something before I can give back. It's like trying to get heat from a fire before you put any logs on it, or try and get interest on a deposit before you've actually put any money into the bank. It doesn't work this way. You have to give first and then you can receive after. This is the whole premise of the book, that the more you give, counterintuitively, the more that you have. And it's such a heartwarming book, so definitely check it out. But we'll get into these 5 laws. So Pindar takes Joe to meet 5 different people, and here are the 5 laws of stratospheric success. The law of value. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. So this first law is from a restaurant owner called Ernesto, and I think he nicely summarizes what it's all about. A bad restaurant tries to give just enough food and service, both in quantity and quality, to justify the money it takes from the customer. A good restaurant strives to give the most quantity and quality for the money it takes. But a great restaurant strives to defy imagination. Its goal is to provide a higher quality of food and service than any amount of money could possibly pay for. So this law of value is about giving more than you can take in payment. And the reason that Ernesto says that is because you can't put a price on that kind of experience. When you give someone so much value and such a great time, that you actually cannot put a price on what that represents, because it's a human experience and you cannot value it in the terms of money because it's just that good. And that's obviously a really high bar, but this is the kind of thing that we should aim for, really maximizing the human experience. Give more value than you take in payment. Second law is the law of compensation. Your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So this law is actually about how much money you earn, because you can give lots of value in your job or in your life, but maybe it's to a small group of people or even just one person. And so you can decide to make more money by serving more people. And Joe learns this lesson from Nicole, who is the owner of a software business. And Nicole says, there are 2 amazing things about this. First, it means that you get to determine your level of compensation. It's under your control. If you want more success, find a way to serve more people. It's that simple. It also means there are no limitations on what you can earn, because you can always find more people to serve. So I think this is a really great principle. It's very simple. You know, the more people you serve and the better you serve them, the more money that you make. But in many ways that can be a bit disappointing, because for example, a teacher is actually doing such a great job and such an important job, but they're only serving a very relatively small amount of people in comparison to someone like an actor or a famous person who is actually impacting lots of people. And this is what it comes down to. It's not just about value. It's not just about how much you give. It's about how many people you impact. This is why it's really important in business and in your career. If you're trying to progress, you're trying to make more money, then you have to think about how you can serve more people. And that's the reason why I like YouTube. And this book really kind of affirmed that for me, is because I really like teaching, but I know that it is limited and I want to make a little bit more money than a teacher makes. So I thought, how can I scale teaching? And I turned to YouTube. I'm just now serving more people, and it takes a while to build up a bit of an audience, but you can potentially earn way more money just teaching more people than you could just teaching in a classroom. And obviously that's a very important job, but it's just saying that if you want to earn more money, then you have to find a way to serve more people and have a bigger impact. The third law is the law of influence. So your influence is determined by how abundantly you put other people's interests first. So this law is all about growing your influence in your network. by putting other people's interests first. And that might seem counterintuitive in a world where it's kind of dog eat dog and you have to look out for yourself, but that's actually the whole point. You don't have to operate like that. The more you put other people's interests first, actually, the more you have your own interests looked after. Pindar says in this law, because if you place other people's interests first, your interests will always be taken care of. Always. Some people call it enlightened self-interest. Watch out for what other people need with the faith that when you do, you'll get what you need. The main idea here is that by helping people and putting other people's interests first, this is generally in a business context, but also in life as well, you build a network of people who know, like, and trust you. And then you try and help them succeed. And over time, the more that they succeed, the more that they want to help you succeed because you've put their interests first as well. And although they might not actually buy anything from you, actually give you any money, these people will help you and be personally invested in seeing you succeed because you feel the same way about them. The fourth law is the law of authenticity. The most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. So this law was explained by a real estate agent who became a real estate agent at around the age of 40 as a divorced woman, and she learned all the techniques to be the best real estate agent that she could be and sell as many houses as she could. She learned everything by the book, but she didn't sell any houses, and she became so bad that she basically gave up in this process, and she went to sell another house and took it not as seriously as she had done in the past and was not very professional, and she ended up just talking to this person, and of course she ended up selling this house to this other person when she hadn't taken the job as seriously and had just been herself when she was doing the job. And the reason obviously is that she was being authentic, she was being a human and just being her natural self, and that is how you actually engage with people, relate to people and build relationships with people. She's called Deborah and she says this: no matter what your training, no matter what your skills, no matter what area you're in, you are your most important commodity. The most valuable gift you have to offer is you. And finally, the fifth law is the law of receptivity. The key to effective giving is staying open to receiving. So for this final law, Pindar explains that the traditional piece of wisdom, it's better to give than to receive, is actually really not a helpful piece of advice, because you cannot go on giving forever. You cannot go on pouring from an empty cup, or you cannot exhale forever without inhaling, and your muscles cannot contract without ever relaxing. So in this way, Pindar says it's not better to give than to receive. He says it's insane to try to give and not to receive. So the logic here is that a receiving is the natural result of a giving. For every giving, there has to be also a receiving. And so if you are denying receiving things in this sort of general sense, it means you're actually denying someone else the opportunity to give as well. And so you have to open yourself up to receiving. And you can give all you want in your life, but if you want success, both in business and your career and in general, then you have to open yourself up and be willing and able to receive in like measure. So that concludes all 5 laws of stratospheric success in The Go-Giver. And if you're confused by any of it, there's a really awesome Q&A at the end of the book with the authors, and they answer some of the common questions about, like, you know, does giving to charity count in this way? And they answer, you know, things like that that are actually quite nuanced, and I think it's really, really helpful to break it down, because a lot of this, it can be a bit confusing, but the general principle is that you have to give lots of value to lots of people, and that is how you actually make lots of money, if that's what you're interested in doing. But also it's about giving as a way of life, and knowing that the more you give, actually the more that you will receive in return. But just remember, that is not the point. It is not about being a go-giver to get more. It is about being a go-giver because it's a genuinely satisfying way of leading a life. This book is one of the rare non-fiction books that is so much better read than it is summarized. And it's not really a non-fiction book in that sense, because it is a bit of a story, but the takeaways are very much like applicable to your life. And so definitely get a copy of it. In the spirit of being a go-giver, I'm actually going to send a copy of this book to someone who comments on this video within 24 hours. And if you've made it this far, to make sure that I know that you are commenting as a result of me saying this, drop a mushroom emoji along with your comment. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and got some value that I've given you for free, just remember. And yeah, please drop a comment if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.